Hello to you all, Millie Lloyd, hope everyone is having a good day. It's Old School Gamer 1971 with my top 10 for games I wish I could play again for the first time. If you would, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Spread the word, as it makes the channel grow and puts a big old smile on this old face. Post your list down below in the comments, I look forward to reading them. So my number 10 then, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, came out for the SNES in 1993, arcade in 1994 and was developed by Capcom. I can remember when I saw this coming to the SNES. Before there was little or no real interest in the console. I was happy with my Mega Drive, yet this game looked head and shoulders above what the Mega Drive had to offer. But looks was not everything, so I got my console and played the game. It wasn't just a beat 'em up, it was the beat 'em up. Fast, fluid, with a large roster for its time. It was amazing to have a game of this caliber on the home console. The first time you start to get the specials down, when you found that character you could just bang out special after special after special. When you connected that second controller and it became winner stays on. And then there is the first time when you beat the game. The biggest thing of all about this game is they are all the very first time with a beat 'em up on the home console, and I would love to have this experience all over again of first time. Number 9, Ridge Racer. Came out on arcade in 1994 and PlayStation 1 in 1995 and was developed by Namco. So I used to play this at the arcades at the local bowling and cinema. It was amazing to see. It was one of the best looking racing games at that time. Around that time I was knocking around with Mark, bowling, burgers and arcade. Other than this being a really good way to spend an afternoon, he also used to have all the new tech. After he got rid of his 3DO, he traded it for a PlayStation. The first time I played this, the Ultra 64, that went on to become the N64 ultimately, became a thing of the past. It was nigh on arcade perfect, with a game that will be mentioned in a minute. I had a PlayStation in less than a week. I might have had other consoles as well as my PlayStation, but these games and many more like it are the reason I own a PlayStation today. It was high speed racing, drifting, power slides and that devil car. It was perfect racing with blocking to beat that devil car. It was faster than you, more manoeuvrable than you. You had to race with an in-car view to stand a chance. Then you won it. That first race was amazing, to see all of your previous times totally destroyed. It was saved on your memory card to show off to your friends. Ridge Racer only had 3 tracks, 6 if you include the mirror tracks. I would love to live this again, that feeling of going down that last straight for that win to unlock the devil car, and that first race once you won it. So number 8 then, Tekken, came out for arcade in 1994, PlayStation 1 in 1995 and PlayStation 3 in 2011. So as I said a little over a minute ago, playing this at Mark's made me buy a PlayStation. It was the characters. Quite a large roster at the time, not as many as later iterations, but they all played so very differently. It was the fact that projectiles of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were not there nor needed. With many fighting styles on offer here, another big thing was unlocking the characters. This was beyond awesome. Normally there was only 1 or 2 to unlock. Tekken you could nearly double that roster. Some were only a different skin like Kuma and Panda, but not that many. I remember the first time it loaded up, the intro. After character selection and it's into the action. You quickly find your favourites, Law, Paul, Nina, and then it's learning those combos. Winner stays on, obviously. Spamming buttons sometimes works. Once you start getting the combos and breakers down, there is no amount of spamming that can win the day. I want that first game feeling at home. This game had specials and combos. This was the first game I played like this, and I would love to experience that feeling again. Number 7, Sonic the Hedgehog. Came out for the Mega Drive in 1991, PlayStation 3 in 2009, and PlayStation 4 in 2018, and was developed by Sega. Again, this game sold me on a console, the Mega Drive. I'd just come back from Portsmouth and my Amiga was busted. Even once I replaced the drive, it never worked to game properly. So I looked around for a TurboGrafx, a more advanced PC engine. The only shop in Leicester to have one was so overpriced. So I didn't know what to do when I looked on the shelf at a Mega Drive. As well, a newly released game, Sonic. I purchased them and went home to try them. At the time there was not a single Mario game on the SNES. When I put this on, just wow. It was so much more faster than any platformer that I'd ever played. And graphically it was fantastic. This was a homebred title, meaning it was not from an arcade game. The fact you had lives and no save, it meant you had to have skill, learn from your mistakes. Now, it might look a little dated, but at the time it was cutting edge. But the speed and the first time you played, the learning of the levels, altogether I would love to see that leap again in graphics, but more importantly a leap in gameplay, making it something new. And to speed through Green Hill Zone 1 for the first time, looking on in awe, I would love to experience that day again. So number 6 then, Doom. Came out for the PlayStation 1 in 1995 and the PlayStation 3 in 2012. Developed by ID Software and Williams Interactive. Okay, so Doom. Now it is tempting to cop out with the first day of multiplayer or the first door kill when you realise that if you timed shutting the door right, if they ran towards you firing a missile, you could block the missile and it would explode in their face. But instead I can remember playing Wolfenstein. Thanks Joe. He got it for his PC and it had a demo of Doom on it. Having played it, I wanted it, except there was one big problem. At the time it was only available for PC and I didn't own a PC. A few years later I saw it was coming to the console I owned. But however I couldn't see it working without a keyboard and mouse. I still went out and purchased it with my reservations. I popped the disc in and started the game. I ran towards the enemy with reckless abandon and hit the fire button. I knew what the fire button was as I'd read the instruction manual on the bus home, or at McDonald's, I can't remember which. The enemy on screen erupted into blood and gore. An insane grin spread across my face as I skipped across the floor looking for my next victim. Level after level, seeing more and more enemies. By the end I was giving the Cheshire Cat a run for his money. It was not just the gore, it was the pacing, the run and gun. But I want that feeling again of running towards that first enemy, not knowing what I was about to see. So my number 5 then, Fallout 4, came out for the PlayStation 4 in 2015 and was developed by Bethesda. Okay, so Fallout 4. This was the next game I went to after Mad Max, that might be on this list later. I was looking for something else with a wasteland, and one thing for sure is, you do have a wasteland to explore with this game. As well, Tom at work had told me to play this game. His two pieces of advice were sniper rifles all the way and power armor. So it loaded up and I was like, ho hum. What looked to be a nuclear family at home. After being warned that missiles are on the way, you make for the shelter. I climbed on the lift, and as it goes down you see the bomb drop. It was and is a wow moment. But that's not the moment. It was in fact 200 days later our time, once I made my way south. The first thing I thought when that bomb dropped is, I hope one day I can get to ground zero. It came after I'd run around for 150 days without armour. Idiot, I know. That I got my XO1 armour, then I customised it. Then one day, talking to Tom at work again, he said he had been there, and I knew there and then I had to go there as well. So got myself suited up and headed south. I mapped everywhere south of the border, leaving the ground zero for last. I was not disappointed, and even though nothing after it felt as good as that moment, it still is a great game. I would love to go on that journey again for the very first time. So my number 4 then, Super Mario All-Stars, came out for the SNES in 1993 and was developed by Nintendo. Again, Super Mario All-Stars sold me on getting a SNES. Funny how the N64 killed me on having to buy the next Nintendo console, but anyway, back to that positive. It was the same year as Street Fighter 2 Turbo. This was the icing on that cake. I was not into Yoshi's Island, but the second I saw this I knew I had to have it. The graphical overhaul is nothing short of jaw-dropping, well at the time. So I got this, popped it in and switched it on. The game offered Super Mario 1, 2 and 3 and Lost Levels. All of them looked good and ran smooth, with the ability to save. But that is not the moment I want again. The moment I want is the first time you load up Lost Levels. For those who don't know, Lost Levels was the original Super Mario 2, until they went with a different direction for the game. When I played it, it was so hard. It felt so rewarding level by level. No, I never completed it. I wished other games followed suit with this. More difficulty levels could really add something to some games, but would love to experience that feeling for the first time again as Mario on a whole other level. So my number 3, Red Dead Redemption, came out for the PlayStation 3 in 2010 and was developed by Rockstar. So Red Dead Redemption. The spiritual predecessor of Red Dead Revolver was a pretty cool game. It's pretty much a series of gunfights with a western story in the background. At the time though, there was another game that came out, Gun. Now this was an open world game with hunting and a western story. Now this sounds pretty much like the Red Dead titles, however Gun never received a follow up. So when they announced Red Dead Redemption I had reservations, as I thought Gun was such a good game. But then the first time I loaded the game up and it shows itself in all of its glory. That world looks so beautiful, it takes your breath away. The second game had a similar effect, especially with snow effects. But nowadays we expect that from Rockstar. After GTA 4, it's Marmite, love it or hate it. This was a new IP and everyone was unsure. Then it came out and the reviews said it was amazing. Still I held off after GTA 4. Then I got it, loaded up, and it blew me away. But the moment I want is that first sunset again. It looked amazing and took graphics to a whole new level. Rockstar has continued to do this again and again with subsequent releases. Number 2, Resident Evil, came out for the PlayStation 1 in 1996, the PlayStation 3 in 2009, and was developed by Capcom. Okay, so Resident Evil is no big surprise to be on my list. Could tell the story of me going to Melton Mowbray to pick it up on import, or many stories of Sister Pen and Ricky sitting up till the early hours watching me play, or the ending. But what I will go with is this. I got back to Leicester with no idea about the game. I loaded it up and seen someone running down the hallway with an unidentified assailant giving chase. Then there is an explosion of blood. Resident Evil.
No time to talk.
Now, I could call it there, but that's not the bit. Or the bit where you find that first zombie. That bit's quite cool, but it's not that bit. Or the bit with the dogs jumping through the window. Brown trouser moment, but not that bit. Fortunately, I chose Jill, as Barry wanted Summer Jill. As such, Barry comes to her rescue quite often. So you pick up the shotgun and head for the door. The ceiling is coming down and Barry kicks open the door and Jill nearly ends up a Jell-O sandwich. Close, but not quite there. So here it is. I shot a few shots and enjoying it. You know, more powerful than that crappy pistol. I rounded a corner and the zombie went in for the kill and I accidentally pressed up on the D-pad and pressed fire. Its head popped like a watermelon dropped over a balcony. I was suddenly running around looking for the next zombie, grinning like I had on Doom. That's the feeling that I want. Finding out what the shotgun could do on Resident Evil. So my number one then, Mad Max, came out for the PlayStation 4 in 2015 and was developed by Avalanche. So we finally made it to Mad Max. I think this is the only game to do what it did, that I wish I could feel again. First of all, some honorary mentions. The first time you go into the desert, the whale carcasses, the storms, the first time with nitrous, the V8 engine, shooting the grappling hook into the enemy's crutch, then dragging them across the desert, going after that first convoy, finding that buried church in the desert, that creepy airport buried in the desert, the crazy chases, the natural beauty. It could have been any of these, and yet it wasn't. So here's the backstory. I was playing the game, then the map stopped working. I read somewhere online that it wasn't sorted and the only way to sort it was to restart your game, so I did. I was around 60 hours in at the time, too many hours of crutch shots, and started the game again, still loving it, rediscovering those locations. The map thing never happened again. I was working on that platinum for months. Then we got to that final boss with Scrotus. What a name for an antagonist. He was the person who stole Max's V8 Interceptor. You beat him and get the car back to drive. Could have been that moment till it got trumped. So by this point it was platinum, and whilst I was pleased, at the same time it gutted me. It felt like I never wanted to leave that wasteland, and there it is. I want that feeling, that world I don't want to leave. Well, that's about it for me today. If you like the list, there is plenty more content like it on my channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. Old School Gamer 1971 signing off.